We have a lot of nerve talking about terrorism. We're the terrorists. We pay for that shit. Let's go back to Vietnam. 20 million bombs dropped on that country, more than all of World War II combined. Agent Orange, millions of gallons. There are still Vietnamese suffering from the genetic damage, and we're leading a war against terror? Never mind the Mujahideen and our support for Al-Qaida. We are Al-Qaida. Just as much as we're ISIS. We are ISIS. We have access to information that previously was not even remotely obtainable. We don't have any excuses now. You could have made an excuse back in the early 90s and the 80s and whatnot, but to make an excuse now is pathetic, quite frankly. How can someone heal when that entity which has been violating you in the most obscene of ways has never even had the decency to apologize? Iraq. Gee, what was the issue after we invaded that country and devastated the whole thing? The economy. We're all worried about the economy. We just killed 1 million plus people. We created millions of orphans, millions of refugees, and we're concerned about the economy? We're not even bothered to apologize for what we've done? And why aren't we holding our politicians to account? If I was Iraqi, if I was born and raised Palestinian, I'm honored to be a Palestinian citizen. I'm as close as you get to being a naturalized Palestinian citizen, and boy, oh boy, am I proud of that. But I have not been born with the skin color of a Palestinian in Palestine and lived that life as a Palestinian has. If I had been born in Palestine and had to endure that kind of injustice, with my loved ones being threatened or killed or tortured, I can assure you, I would be involved in violent resistance without a doubt. No way would I sit by and allow that shit to happen. No way. I think we have a lot of nerve pointing a finger at people and calling them terrorists when they're enduring a circumstance which most of us could never even comprehend. Can you imagine your child being ripped from you, being blown to bits? Can you imagine? Because I can, and I know how I would feel. We have a lot of nerve talking about terrorism. We're the terrorists. We pay for that shit. I just know that I don't need to come home and see my child blown to bits from a bomb to know how horrifying that would be. I reckon I have experienced something like that, probably many times over, and I wouldn't want that for anyone. I would not want that for anyone. My God, if that happened to my child, holy shit. I don't know if I could cope with that. And that's part of what is amazing and inspiring to me with regard to the Palestinian people, because so many of them have experienced just that and other equally horrifying realities. And I swear to God, they've not lost their dignity. Some of them, yes, they've been caught up in the hatred, in the rage for what they've experienced, very understandably so. A remarkable amount of Palestinians have not become the monster which is oppressing them. That is amazing. Amazing. Through the approval of our proxies, our ISIS, Saudi Arabia, this monstrosity of medieval fake Islam, is our best friend and ally. $60 billion worth of arms, which they are using right now for many months to slaughter the poorest people in the poorest nation in the Middle East. And it's not even talked about now. At least the Palestinians got themselves on the map. And you know what it took to get our attention? Suicide bombing. That was where we were all forced. And of course the system used that to say, look at the Palestinians. Look how violent they are. They just hate the Jews. They just want to drive them all to see bullshit, what any desperate person would do eventually. And I'll tell you what, if it happened to the American people, if they were occupied and treated like that for that many decades, would have been blood in the streets everywhere. We would have been killing our own people. You collaborating? Oh my God. The Palestinians have been subjected to this and carried themselves with as much dignity as anyone could be expected to do. And the suicide bombings were merely a symptom of a horrendous policy that we all sat by and watched. I went to Basra in southern Iraq, and they have a children's hospital down there. And in that children's hospital, at least back in 2003, they have photo albums, photo albums that are about that thick, perhaps. And they have several of these photo albums. And I've looked through these photo albums, and the pictures they have in these photo albums are of babies born in the hospital back in 2001. Keep in mind, this is before the most recent invasion. And if you haven't done any research into Fallujah or other places in Iraq, oh my God, they are advising women not to have babies in Fallujah, and for good reason. That ain't no paranoia. Because some of these babies, if they're born alive, or whether they're stillborn, many of them don't even look human. That is not a human baby. And you can imagine the trauma of not only a man who fathers that, but can you imagine the woman who carries this thing in their womb for all these months, and then it comes out, and it doesn't even look like a human? It looks like some sort of alien? I mean, what does that do to your head? That's happened so many times. And I went to that children's hospital, and I looked at those photo albums, and Jesus, man, there ain't no way we can atone for that shit. I mean, even apologies and, financial compensation, there's nothing we can do to compensate for that. We have a lot of nerve talking about terrorism. We're the terrorists. We pay for that shit. And we're leading a war against terror? Never mind the Mujahideen and our support for Al-Qaida. We are Al-Qaida. Just as much as we're ISIS. We are ISIS.